What's going on, guys? Fighting Game Selectors here. We are back again to talk about some fighting games, and today we're going to be talking about some Garo or Fatal Fury City of the Wolves.
Dude,
Now,
I mess it up all the time too. I say Gara, I say Fatal Fury, I say City of the Wolves. I'm never
dude,
sure which one to say.
yeah, what we know for sure is from the city. Let's talk about the good, and then we'll talk about the bad. What are the good things that you can just name off the bat?
Yeah, so I'm always down for like the compliment sandwich, right? It's like if you want to talk about the bad, you gotta surround it with good, so it's kind of easier to digest. So let's start with some good. I really like the gameplay. I think the gameplay is phenomenal. There's a few. I obviously I'm very gameplay focused person, so there are some things I don't like. But overall, I think the system mechanics are great. I think Just Defend is really cool and it's very, very meaningful. And the ways you can interact with Just Defend at a very high level actually blows my mind. And it's something that I know transfers over from the original Mark of the Wolves, but like playing like original, like when you play like a random person online, I could like kind of tell which fighting game they came from, because like if it's someone like me like that just spammed Revblow the whole time, they're like, oh, that's probably a Street Fighter 6 player. But if you play someone that's like really, really good at Just Defense, there's a chance that they played, you know, the original Garo Mark of the Wolves. And Just Defend, the way it works, it's so integral to that gameplay where you can just defend a lot of things and punish a lot of things that might not be punishable. And then there's ways to bait out the Just Defends, and there's like this whole mind game that like I only slowly dip my toes into. But I could see the vision, and the vision looks really cool just from that one mechanic. And I think all the other mechanics are great. I like the way it flows. I like, you know, the fact that like everyone has a reversal except Bijane. They'll give her a reversal eventually, right? Right?
No,
Right,
no,
SNK.
no.
And yeah, the brake system's really neat. The way the EXs work is really cool. I mean, it's basically like the Street Fighter 6 drive system in reverse. I don't know. I just really like the system mechanics.
I felt like this is like the first fighting game in a very long time where they have a lot of passive decision making in the game, which I am blown away, because I feel like a lot of passive defense have kind of been like either it's there but it's not as impactful in the game, or they just completely removed it. You know, in Grand Blue, like if you could just defend in that game and it builds you like more meter, right, while you're blocking. But like, you know, that doesn't really help a lot of things,
Yeah.
you know, while you're blocking.
It's like a 1% optimization.
Yeah, exactly, right. But and then you got like Just Defend and like Strive, which is like it's 2 frames, but you know, one mistake you could completely lose the game very, very bad, right? And it's only like kind of one way of doing that.
And there's like, you don't really get much off of it unless it's like a very specific string, and you know, maybe it'll like keep you in the throw range. Like there's very niche applications to it.
But I feel like with this game, you have the choice to either do something after you Just Defend or not do anything. And I feel like that it makes people think twice about making the decision on offense.
Yeah.
And I think that that is a phenomenal thing in like fighting games in general, because if you look at like older games, like even KOF still kind of have it too, right? You have 1 meter. If you do a certain block string, I can roll cancel, I can blow back to chip you out. And like even like an old KOF, like there was ways where like you could blow back and kill people, and they can like roll cancel their normals to like call out the blowback and hit you. And I was like, I like those like very interactive like things in the game, mainly just because even though I think even though I think City of the Wolves damage is really high, but because those passive defense are so strong, it makes getting those chances of high damage very, very like not so much do you have if there was no options.
Yeah, I think it really adds layers to the games. And just to give an example of like kind of my personal beta experience. So day 2 of the beta, I thought I found the most broken tech, which was you can basically get like a cross up 50-50 with Bijane. So if you do like the Bijane flip, it hits in the front, you get a full combo. If you break cancel the flip, you get a cross up and you get a full combo. And you just have to like hit the spacing correctly. And I'm like, man, this is broken. I'm just going to 50-50 people. And then midway through that second day, I found out there's a block button, which is the Rev Guard. And I'm like, man, this like, I put all this like thought into like the setup, and now I can't like get the setup, and you can just hold the block button. And then I realized cross-ups are actually good because it interacts with Just Guard in a very interesting way, right? So safe jumps aren't amazing in this game because you can Just Guard cancel and then punch, right? But if
Yep.
you don't know which side the safe jump's hitting on, because it might be across it, but it might be same side, then it kind of negates the Just Guard, and therefore you get like a more guaranteed mix-up, right? So something that I thought was bad, I thought was great, then went to bad, and then it turns out it's actually pretty good because it guarantees Oki in a situation that you might not necessarily be able to. And I see
Isn't
a lot
that
of those.
cool? Isn't that cool?
It's really cool.
Isn't that just the fact that you explained that? You was like, yo, this is broken, to this is trash, to this is mad good.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of things like you're talking about, like when you just defend or just guard and you special cancel. It's like, when do you special cancel? What do you special cancel with? Like that whole interaction is very, very interesting, right? Because if I like fake I'm doing a meaty and the meaty whiffs and you get a special cancel, but then I stuff that special cancel from coming out, like I don't know. There's just a lot of like depth to the system that I didn't recognize at first, and I see the potential.
Yeah, and it's fun to play. Like, and I feel like a lot of games that have a hard time is like, especially people who I would say more of the veteran side than jumping. I feel like people who jump into a fighting game for the first time don't really understand, mainly because they have no experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a lot of people that have more experience in fighting games, when you play long, you kind of get burnt out because it's kind of like the same scenario over and over and over again, right? Either I pick this or I pick that. Oh, I die. Oh, okay, I didn't die. Like, unless it depends on the character you play, but not most characters in these games, especially modern.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like I get burnt out of playing after like an hour or two. Right? It's like, oh, okay, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. It's like, okay, I'm burnt out. All right, I'm done. I give it like a nice example. Like, Kai Stun Dipper being 5 frames. I'm all right, well, 550 meter.
I'll send it,
I'm gonna let it rip. But like in other games, like in like older games, Kai had a very strong 2D. So like 2D was a stronger tool to kind of throw out. It was jump cancelable. So like it was the threat of Stun Dipper, but you could have other tools. And I kind of feel like that when it comes with City of the Wolves. It's like, okay, this move is good, but it has so many ways to like deal with it. So I want to learn how to make people try to deal with this, but I make it where I don't I bait them from wanting to look for it and I do something else. And like I feel like every time I think of something like that, it makes me want to play and keep engaging in like matches and try like new crafty ways of like manipulating the tempo of the match.
So like that's actually, I was gonna disagree with you halfway through that statement, and then I kind of saw where you're going for. So I actually think, like probably one of my cons, at least gameplay wise, because everyone's gonna be like, yeah, the netcode sucks, or like the net play experience. There's a million videos on that.
Sucks, yeah.
Matchmaking sucks. You'll need to hear us talk about that. Like that, every single video on Garo on YouTube talks about that, right? So like one of the cons I think of this game is that I think there's a lot of like characters play similarly, right? So for example, you could almost classify everyone as like a Shoto, right? They all have a DP, they all have a fireball. They're not doing like crazy things. Even like compared to like Street Fighter 6, right? You have like the rushdown character, you have like the zoner, you have the grappler. I mean, like everyone's very well rounded, right? And maybe that's a good thing.
I could kind of, I don't know, because I think Street Fighter 6, everybody's a grappler at the main gifts of it. I mean, look at Mai, for example. Mai is such a great design character, but like most of the time you're gonna see people just throwing you with that character and throwing EX Fireball. And I feel like every character is kind of like a Shoto in that game too.
Yes, so the thing is like Kim is very, very rushed down, right? Like so Kim kind of reminds me of Bijane, and that's kind of why I picked Bijane, because like they both have that rush down. They both don't have an invincible reversal. They both like, have like tricky movement stuff, right? But like there's other characters I could say are kind of like Kim, like almost like characters like how would I put this? Like Aki in a sense plays very differently, right? Because she has really good rush down, but she plays different than Kim because she could do like fireball drive rush and that sort of thing, right? So she kind of fits like a different archetype. And then if I look at like other characters, I think of like a character like Manon or Zangief, where it's like, yes, they technically have like good pokes, like Manana's are like really good pokes, Zangief has really good pokes, but like they're very, very slow. Like they can't just like drive rush throw, or they can't just do like fireball drive rush, or they can't do crouch medium kick drive rush, right? Like they have a holistically different game plan. Where here I feel like the strategy is like, okay, I jump around and I do my feint cancels up close and I do good mix, which I think is a really cool, because the system mechanics are very strong and they're very good, and that's what adds depth to the game. But I don't think it's really the characters, because they're all very similar and all very well rounded, which compared to like every game I've played, I'm hoping that the rest of the characters that are announced kind of like round out the roster, so you get like maybe like a really slow character, and then like another like really fast technical character, like even like someone even more rushed down to Bijane that like doesn't have a fireball, but they have like ways to skip neutral, for example, right? So that's the main thing to me, is like character diversity, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I will say that some characters in the demo do have a lot of similar gameplay, like obviously like Terry Rock, right? Like, but I think, and I mean, kind of, side games kind of did this too, but I feel like for the demo, they really just whipped out a lot of like straightforward characters, so people can have an easier time understanding the game.
And that makes sense.
And I think, I think that is a great choice. But from the characters that I will say that showed up in the trailers, from the older games, some of them are very, 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 very like, different in terms of archetypes. So I think like characters like Gato will be very interesting. To see how it plays out, things like that, or T-Zoc. And I want to say like one thing I want to say a little bit on the positive side. We can start jumping on the cons, but I do appreciate that like some characters have like dashes, some characters have runs. I think that's really cool. It brings it like opens up a lot of ideas of what they're potentially going to do. To jump on the cons, I think the biggest thing that I've had the hardest time with is trying to get into a game. Like going into like the online lobby and like drag, like not even like netcode and matchmaking aside, it's like trying to play, trying to add a friend, trying to like search for people. Like it felt like I was a coder trying to figure out how to do all this.
I when I was playing TNS, I had to like at people. I'm like, I have no clue how the system works. Like the fact that like some of the options were like pretty hidden, to be honest, is kind of counterintuitive.
Like if you wasn't on keyboard, you had to press like triangle to like accept, and I'm like, that is the worst button ever to use. Like it should always be X and circle. Like the fact that it's triangle and square is like, that is very like not intuitive.
No, I totally agree. That's why I think that's very common sentiment across the community, is like, man, this game's cool, but trying to play it it's kind of tough, right? And like obviously there's no training mode, so people can practice like whatever. Training mode will exist in the actual game. And like actually getting into the thing, I also saw like, I guess some of the people's menus were like really laggy and it had like negative edge menus. I don't know if you heard about that, which is sounds hilarious. I didn't notice it. Maybe like it was a glitch on some people's consoles or something, but it felt fine to me. But yeah, everyone was complaining about that. A lot of things around the actual game itself, I thought were definitely a little lacking.
So I feel like they got the gameplay correctly. I just feel like a lot of stuff outside of the game just felt like a job to do, and I think that is very important to fix, because there are a lot of people like somebody told me like, yo, can you add me? And like I was trying my best, and in the back of my head I was like, yo, I just don't want to do this no more. And I feel like there are people that are way more worse than me being like, yo, I don't want to play this because it takes too long.
Even like I was counting like the amount of time that like in between matches, and like the amount of time, like if you play a lobby match and then you go back to a lobby, it was like 15 seconds for me. Like it's
turning the mouse alone.
Amount of time.
Turning the mouse alone to go and like click something.
Oh, that was a pain too. I had to like click on don't even get me started.
Yeah, it was like dude, it was like I was turning a big old ship in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like it was just crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
I forgot about that. That was bad too.
yeah, that's really, really bad. Another thing that I think is I'm really sad about is I wish there was an option where if you join a match late in a lobby that you could spectate it. The fact that I have to wait until the whole set is done.
Yeah.
So if they do like a first to three, you have to wait for all 3 games to be done, and then you can watch.
But one thing, actually, I'll bring this con to a pro, right? So I originally said I was going to disagree with you on the fact that like there's like people have diverse game plans, right? And so to me, like for example, if you watch like the TNS tournament, or like people are using like very strong strategies. So for me, it was like here's my flowchart of BJNA. Far 5H into core circle forward heavy kick, and if it hits, I get a full combo and I do the same combo, and if it's blocked, I RPS after, right? Anti-air if they get him close, if not, start jumping, throw a fireball. All right, that's how you play BJNA. But realistically, like, and the same thing, like other characters like Terry, how do you play Terry? Crack shoe, neutral, it's plus on block, and you do EX, what is it? EX bird knuckle and the EX crack shoot, and you're plus on block in their face, and you neutral skip, right? And a lot of these characters have like these very reductive game plans. But I actually think, like, the more I think about it, like at high level, there's going to be like really high level mind games behind this, right? So for example, like against BJNA, if they do the far 5H and the core circle forward heavy kick, if they just guard both hits of the core circle forward heavy kick, you can get a full punch, right? And even like the Terry combo, like if you always autopilot that EX bird knuckle and the EX crack shoot, and the opponent's good, and they do, what is that, the red parry? I forget what it's called in this game.
Hyper defend. They hyper defend it, they get canceled.
Yeah, you hyper defend, and then you get a full combo, right? And I think that is really cool. And then you're gonna start to see people do like bird knuckle into something else to bait out the hyper defend, and then they get hit. And I don't know. I think that, like, even though at first glance, like some of the gameplay seem very reductive and there's not very many options, I think when you get to higher level, we're gonna see like a lot more counterplay in mind games, and I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and that's the point that I was going to, is that I feel like every time I keep playing, I get like a Zenkai boost where I'm like, yo, I got way stronger because of just one specific interaction. Oh, this is really, really strong. And then once you start getting comfortable, like for example, like some characters have like obnoxious fireballs, and like I play somebody that played old Garo. We just played one game, and I instantly learned how to play 10 times better just by understanding what he was doing. And like,
what was the lesson? Teach me how to deal with fireballs other than just defend.
Dude, what people did was they will just defend, and then they were guard cancel the just defend and throw another fireball immediately.
Oh, I never ran into that.
Yeah. So
that's smart.
So somebody's fireball, you just defend, you guard cancel the fireball, and you throw a fireball back and you run it.
That's cool. Yeah.
And like if they throw a fireball, it trades, but you have way more position that you would have if you were just blocking and then throwing another fireball. And I was like, yo, that was insane. And like we was playing, it was like a Kai mirror. So like he'll throw a fireball and I'll guard kiss and throw an EX, and then I'll do the dash break, and then now I'm like in his face. And I was like, yo, that is insane. That like I played him one time and he showed a glimpse of what I can do, and then I thought about something even better than what he showed. And I was like, that is insane. Like I enjoyed that. And that's all from like a passive option. He could have just defend and not do anything.
We didn't talk about Rev Guard, but there's like hella application there, right? Getting the pushback, making something whiff, and there's gonna be you're gonna have to know your stuff in this game for sure.
A lot of people want like macros. I'm actually on the fence of not bringing macros into the game currently, and it's not because of like, oh, I just want to like try to like get good type, but mainly just because I feel like with how the game offense is kind of like how you applicate the offense in this game, it'd be very, 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 very crazy if like you can make somebody doing this, make somebody forcing decision by a click of a button with like a feint, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that for balance wise, I think it keeps a lot of the game on a healthy aspect, even though it's kind of insane and wild of what you could do with guard canceling. But I will say that they gotta buff the modern controls in the game. Like they have to add some type of something for those players getting into the game.
Yeah, I haven't really tested it out, but I mean, in my experience, like it should be probably like Street Fighter 6 or like maybe like slightly weaker than Street Fighter 6 to keep the complainers from, you know, complaining. But my understanding right now, it's like you lose access to breaks and feints. I don't know what else you lose access to, but just losing access to those two things is like tragic. Like losing access to breaks makes B Jeanette like terrible. Like
but
you
it makes
cannot
characters
play
like
her
Terry
without
like
breaks. Yeah.
It's funny, but characters like Terry, it's like they don't even need it. You know, it's like you know, they just burn knuckle, power shoot. You know, like
I guess that's true. But yeah, you have to think like Bijanet's two best moves are both break moves. It's like
I know.
Like if you can't break, that character is like instantly bottom one. She's unplayable.
Yeah. So it's like little stuff like that. But overall, I'm super excited for the game. Are you excited?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna be grinding. So
Man,
I'll see you out. I'll see you in the city. I was gonna say I'll see you on the streets, but that's that one's taken.
Yeah, I see you in the city, bro. But with that being said, man, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you so much coming to the chat, coming to the channel as always, showing love. And where can they find you?
Oh yeah, just at Diaphone, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Come check me out.
People in the chat, in the comment section below, make sure you guys leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel as always, so I can continue on making these videos and the algorithm saving me as well. Make sure you guys let me know in the comment section below, who are you excited to play, and what are you looking forward to in the DLC. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.